It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Monday, April 15th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another week together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have 2G Talks with Eddie Kweon, the Sunday Message Word Study, and of course, commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? Yes, it is Monday, a brand new week. We have already hit the middle of the month. Hope you guys have really enjoyed your weekend. Don't forget, we have Q&A Thursday every single week, so get those questions ready. Send them to me whenever you can. And if you haven't yet, leave a like and comment for today's video, the one that you're listening to right now. Let's build our community together. I'm just very grateful and thankful for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title, I got the old one right here. It's Prophecy and Promise Have Been Fulfilled According to What the Time Period Has Done When the Time Came. Right? It's kind of a tongue twister. Prophecy and promise have been fulfilled according to what the time period has done when the time came. All right, so really, really powerful message. Hope you guys really enjoyed that one too. I am grateful and thankful for this week's message. Once again, it is not even just a reminder. It's showing us like we are living in the true time period right now. We have all the answers, all the realizations. Everything is there for us. And it's just a matter of us, to realize once again, this is what's actually happening right now in this time period. For me, this time period is like looking at today, it's already April 15th. I am just blown out of my mind how fast this month is going by. We reached the halfway mark. Just 2 more weeks and we're going to be into May, guys. In 2 weeks, we're going to be in May. And for me, that's incredible because this Thursday, I'll be heading to Korea. And then I'll be there for 10 days. I'll come back at the end of the month. And then once again, it's going to be May when I come back, which is, I don't even know how to put it. It is just ridiculous that this month is just flying by so fast. Oh, I have one clarification I do need to make, right? So I did get a call and they were asking me, on my Patreon, what is this 6 core principles video? And I did talk about posting up the 6 core principles and such, but I think there is a misunderstanding because I think a lot of people think this is the new direction. Like, what are the 6 core principles that we need to teach for the 30 lessons? This, and that. No, this is totally not that. Totally not that. So the 6 core principles is talking about not doctrine or not a lesson. It's talking about principles taught inside the 30 lessons. Like something you guys know 100% is the principle of repeating history. Like that type of principle. The principle of gradual history. Those ones, right? So I just want you guys to know that those 6 core principles in lecture training I have up, they're all 3 to 4 years old. So there's nothing to do with the new ones. And of course, I pretty much think 95% of the, whatever the new directional changes there are, 95% of them are going to be similar to everything we've taught since like 1978. Like all those core parts are going to be the same. There's just probably going to be some minor adjustments here and there, right? But yeah, once again, guys, on my Patreon is 6 core principles. It's basically taking out 6 core concepts and principles that help us to understand the word a little bit better. So I hope there's no misunderstandings with that because, I would be quite upset too if it's like, oh, here's the new direction for lecturing, but then you need to pay and go on Patreon to get it. And I would totally not do that. This would be information that should just go out anyways kind of thing, right? So it is not that. It is not that. And for another thing for you guys, just want to let you guys know also that Patreon is a membership site for this YouTube channel. All the extra videos I put on there, whether they're lectures, word studies, or lecture training, anything, any of those things, any of those sermons that I did, for newcomers and stuff like that, all of that is just kind of an added bonus for supporting me kind of thing. You know what I mean? So that's how Patreon actually works. It's for this channel. So a lot of people who are supporting me for MSD, they received a lot of grace, inspiration. They'll support me on Patreon. It's one of those sites that creators use so that they can kind of live by doing these creator things, right? And some people are actually supporting me on Patreon for, what do you call it? Yeah, for my Rebel Pastor channel also, right? So there is like kind of like an overlap for members that are, supporting me with this also. So I just want to let you guys know that that's kind of, that's what Patreon is. It's a membership site for creators. So you're going to find tons of YouTubers and social media influencers on there. And it's like extra stuff you wouldn't find on their YouTube channels or whatever it is, right? So that's why I'm just telling you guys that is my, that's what a Patreon site is. So yeah, 6 core principles. It is not doctrines. It is not any new direction. These are just concepts, these principles that are from the 30 lessons that I extracted so that it will help us to understand, understand the word better if you know those principles a lot more. Okay, so I just want to make sure that everyone doesn't misunderstand, doesn't get confused. And I completely understand why you may be upset if if you thought it was the actual like real lecture training doctrine stuff that that should be free kind of thing. You know what I mean? So that's my point, and I want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding, because I forget sometimes that there are a lot of new subscribers to MSD, and they're going to hear stuff and they don't know the context behind it, which is partly my fault, because I'm not taking into, like, I kind of feel like this is just our family, the MSD family, and we just move along with it. Right? And as we're moving along, there's more people that jump in and more people that come to support or listen to the podcast. But I forget in my head that a lot of the newer people will have no idea like what Patreon is, what's on that site, what does it mean 6 core principles. So like if you ask anyone else who's on Patreon who's watched the 6 core principles, you'll know it's got nothing to do with what are the 6 main doctrines, right? Because we know we have 4 main doctrines, which is like Advent, Rapture, Purpose of Creation in the Fall, and what's the other one? Was it the Advent, Purpose of Creation? It is the Rapture, and I think it's Resurrection. I think, right? So there's like 4 core doctrines that will help people to realize even better. But that's it's not that, completely not that, all right? So just wanted to make clarification so there are no misunderstandings for the future. All right. So if anyone else asks you about it, just let them know it's not that. Okay. So I talked about dreams last week, right? And 2 new dreams this week, or they just happened within the last week and this week. So 2 new dreams. I was really, really shocked by this. Okay. So one of the dreams comes from the comment section, and it was really funny because this person's like going, dude, I had a dream about you, but you're not going to be happy. I'm like, oh no. So we had this like little mini spat on there. We're just joking around and stuff like that too. But they told me that the dream was interpreted in reality. So I was really, really thankful. So this is what the comment says. So this is that first dream that comes from the comment section. And the dream says, hey, Pastor Sky, not to worry. I interpreted the dream. It happened in reality, which is great. So I dreamt that you were doing your podcast. I was watching online, but watching in person at the same time. And it was in a park. And you started to speak, but were speaking only to me in an Australian accent. That's weird, right? I was so shocked that you would speak only to me on the podcast. It's like when you listen to the word and you feel God is speaking directly to you and it hits you that hard. In reality, what happened afterwards, I was listening to sermons in the sky and I was inspired. Maybe God will speak directly to me, but then just, I thought to myself, basically they're saying, maybe God will speak to me through sermons in the sky, but he's like, maybe not. But when I listened, I felt that same pang and shock I felt in my dream, as if God was using this sermon to speak only to me. It was exactly everything I am praying and thinking about, and I was setting a special prayer condition about emptying my heart and realizing God's will since the spiritual Oppenheimer messed me up. And everything you said, I felt was God answering all of my prayers. Even when you said that God might be taking you left, I saw a sign saying, keep left exactly at that time. I realized that God let me take action how I wanted, but now He is leading me in a new way since I started opening my heart to God. I was reading Jonah before listening to the podcast and realized that I am like Jonah running away from God's will. So when you mentioned Jonah, I was just about to slam the brake and crash into someone because I was driving, right? And of course, just a figure of speech. It really hit me so hard and I just cried. Thanks for the sermon in the sky this week. I heard your Friday podcast too, and you said you were not in a really good space, but I just want to give encouragement because it was extremely helpful to me. I am really thankful to God for speaking to me through you. The part of the dream that I thought you wouldn't like is that you looked really old. But it's definitely a parable for something, or maybe not, guys. Maybe I look really old now. Maybe it means wisdom. This is what the person's writing. But no doubt it must have also been a parable for God or the Lord speaking to me. Maybe I just perceive you to be old and you were shown that way. So what a powerful testimony of the dream. And I think it's something where even when we look at the Sunday message, it's kind of what God is saying is we're going to get these dreams, these promises, and these prophecies that come to us, but we won't be able to interpret them until reality comes, right? And that's why Sunsim always says, whenever you have dreams or visions or all these prophecies about you, we have to realize that it happens. It's going to happen in reality, and then you're able to interpret it. In the same way I was able to interpret that dream of me having the mission of internet ministry and such, right? So that was one of the dreams that very, very grateful and thankful that God is using me, and it makes it. It not only encourages me, it motivates me even more to do MSD. And I'm going to tell you my honest opinion, right? Like, this is what I really feel is if I had a choice between doing one channel, either MSD or Rebel Pastor, I would do MSD, 100%. Like even right now. Even right now, I'd be like, yeah, 100% I'd be doing, I'd go to MSD. I really gain. It's so, like the fulfillment of MSD. And when I listen to comments or when people tell me, oh my gosh, God spoke to me, or this really helped me, or 2023, this really got me through those times, like this, though, just that alone, it makes me feel it was worth it. It was worthwhile. Yes, this is 100% from God. So that was the first dream. So I got another, someone else contacted me from America, and they said they had a dream. And in the dream, they shared my Rebel Pastor channel with some friends. And they were so inspired that they started praying. So now, after receiving that, when I say they started to pray, it means the person who received the dream, they had the dream, they woke up, and they started to pray right away. That's what it means. It doesn't mean that their friends saw the Rebel Pastor channel and then the friends started praying. The person receiving the dream, they received the dream, they woke up, they're like, oh my gosh, and then they started to pray. So right now, like at that moment when they contacted me, they're like, oh, I'm going to look through your channel to see which videos I need to share, which is awesome. And it's true. Like the person said in the dream, and I told you guys yesterday, it was a roller coaster last week. Tons of realizations, right? But now that the whole thing is over, I can talk about it. It actually finished in 3 days. It started on Wednesday. It ended on Friday, Saturday pre-dawn, but it was like Friday 2 a.m. And I'll tell you why it's 2 a.m. Okay? So it was a roller coaster, a lot of realizations, but in the end, it was exactly what I said that first day is God sometimes closes doors and He opens new doors somewhere else. He wants you to go to another place, right? And this is like, it's really interesting as, I've been a pastor, I've been a head leader, I've done leadership in so many different roles and such. And the thing that's so interesting in my head is I know the right things to say. I just do. I know the right things to say is like, hey, something bad happens. It's going to be what? Hey, don't worry. God's got a new plan. God's got something planned for you. You have no idea. You just got to wait on God. Something's going to happen. You just don't know. So God's closing a door here. He's going to open it somewhere else. Like that's the right thing to say. in reality, we're not really sure. We're going by faith. That's what faith is. And last week, for those 3 days, it was just like my heart was going up and down and up and down. So what actually happened was, on Wednesday, I did my live stream, okay? And then after my live stream, I was contacted by the church, and because of a situation and because of policy and rules and stuff like that too, like I lost the space. Like I can't use that space anymore to do my live stream at the church. I just can't do it anymore. And for me, the first reaction is, hey, it's really weird for me, guys. I'm the opposite. My first reaction is reasonable. First reaction is no problem. This is not my church. This is not even my country, even though I'm kind of like an honorary Malaysian. But I'm just like, this is not my country. This is not my church. I don't make the rules. And I basically even told them, even before they said anything to me, I was like, hey, I understand the situation. And whatever policy or rules, I understand. And you just need to tell me and I'll follow. Well, very reasonable, isn't it? It is reasonable. It's very reasonable, very law. It's like, yeah, if there's a certain rule, something happens, I got it. Just don't worry about it. And then I go through the emotional part after being reasonable. Isn't that kind of weird? And, when something happens, something's taken away, you kind of go through the emotion of, oh, why did this happen? Oh, and then sometimes you might feel it's personal. It's like, well, what if it's free? Like, I can't use it even if no one's using it. Like, what does that mean? What about this? And what about that? Like, all these things come to mind. And I'm telling you this, guys, because I'm sitting there like, oh, internet ministry, people don't realize internet ministry. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, going, man, do these people not realize about internet ministry? Or what does this mean? Or is this something that I did? Is something against me? Like, so many things come into my mind. And of course, when you think too deeply, or when you start to think a little bit too dark, right? Because you can start thinking like too dark about something. And yeah, it was kind of like my head went through it like, I can't believe, now what am I going to do next? And I was even like, gosh, I got to find a studio. I got to rent a place, all this money it's going to cost, this, and this. And I was just like, oh, this is terrible kind of thing. And I went through that all the next day, okay? And also within those 3 days, my tech team's going to be changing and stuff like that. People move on and they have other things that, I can't expect them to like, oh, you're committed to this kind of thing. So I'm just like, oh, that kind of sucks kind of thing. Because this is someone who's been with me since the very beginning. And I'm just like, oh man, this person has been my tech. They know my style, everything else like this. And they're like done super well, already finding and training new people to take over and stuff like that too. So for me, no problem. However, my heart is already dealing with the first one is, oh my gosh, where am I going to get my studio? How much is it going to cost? Where am I going to be? What about this? What about that? And while I'm thinking in that, like, it's like another setback. I lost my tech person. And even though they have new people coming in, it's still major change, right? It's still major change. So it kind of felt like one thing piling up on the other. And then it keeps piling up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is within 3 days, okay? So, in my head, should I tell you guys how dark I went? This is how dark I went. Like, I got so dark in my head, I was like, I hate Malaysia. I'm like, I'm leaving this place. Like, in my head, like, that's, and... Guys, don't misunderstand this. I already know that it's wrong. I already know my thinking is wrong. So it's not like I'm sitting there like, oh, this is I'm like, I'm really, really I'm just like, oh, you just get into that position like, ugh, kind of thing, right? And, like even for me, I'm a very competitive person. So in order for me to push forward, I need that competitive juice, that competitive, I got to push forward competitively, right? Or else I'll just go darker in the hole. So, I realize like, hey, I got to get out of this right now. So I got to have that competitive spirit that pushes me and drives me forward, right? And like, it's funny, guys. It's such a guy thing. It's one of those, oh yeah? Yeah, you think you're going to do that? I'll show you. I'm going to become even more successful. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make sure, like, that's what comes through my head is I'm going to do even better. I'm really going to do better kind of thing. And that's what kind of pushes me forward. But still, even though I know the right things in my head, being a pastor, understanding what happens in history, when you're facing the reality, even though I know what is right, the right things to say, what God's going to do, the part that I cannot control is my emotion, my feeling inside. I can't control that. So even though I know God's going to be with me, the feeling in my heart is so anxious, so much uncertainty. What am I going to do here? What about this and that? And what happened was, slowly but surely, I had, like, during those 3 days when those things happen, God is just working. Like, he's basically so obviously, like, slapping me in the face, like, dude, I'm still here. Like, that's what he was doing. It was the I'm still here moment. Like, stop freaking out. I'm still here. And the first thing is, like, I called a friend. I'm like, hey, and I'm ready to kind of just vent, to tell my friend, hey, this is what's going on. And talk to this, I'm not going to just unload on them right when I say hello, right? So I open the conversation, and then this friend of mine starts opening up about their situation. I'm like, oh, I couldn't sleep because of this, my work or my businesses or what, and I'm listening to it like, oh, wow, that's serious, right? And they're just telling me all the serious stuff that they're going through. But then, even though they're telling me all these serious things, they say something so inspiring. So they're in this like terrible predicament that I couldn't even, when I listen to that, I'm like, I don't even want to say what I want to say. Because, for one thing that I realized about like conversations when people are opening up about the things they're going through, if someone talks about what they're going through and then all of a sudden I say, well, I'm going through this too, it kind of discounts what they just said, and we're not really dealing with them. I'm not really comforting them or helping them through it. So I was like, I'm not going to talk about my things at all, right? Because this person is going through something, so I want to help. I would rather be there for this person. And despite of their situation, they're like, oh, I got to help out my family member. And I'm like, what? And it's like, and something they totally don't have to do. And I was like, wow. I was like, man, that's amazing. Despite your situation, and in my head, it's like, it's worse than mine, you're gonna still help your family. They're like, of course. I was like, wow, that's incredible. And I was really moved by it. And then they said to me like, oh, what are you going to tell me? And I was like, and I had to kind of brush it off like it's no big deal. I'm like, I'm not struggling with it kind of thing. But I was like, I don't have a space to do my live streams anymore, so I got to find a new place and stuff. And like not even a second later, it's just, you can use my space. And I was so blown away that the feeling at that moment is God is talking to me. God's like saying, I'm here. You don't think that, you may be thinking right now, you're in the dumps right now, or you're like in that zone, but I'm here. I'm still here. Don't think that I'm abandoning you. Remember what you said through your own lips. God is leading me to a better place. God is closing this door, but opening new doors for the future. So don't lose hope. Don't lose that faith. And through that, I even in my head, I'm like, even if I don't use that office, even if I don't use it, it was like God speaking to me like, no, I got you. I got your back. And I was so moved by it. There's another friend of mine. They're like all these people started kind of jumping in like, hey, what's going on? Oh, yeah. If you need any help with this, I'll help you find something. Yeah. If you need, they're like, it was just, as much as I felt like, oh, this is terrible, I can't believe this, it was just people jumping in. They were jumping in, finding me places, looking at this and that, like, what about this and what about that? And I was sitting there like going, wow, like, God, you really, really are looking out for me. It's not even, it's remember, this is all within 3 days. So then what happened that it finally concluded on Friday night, which means it's Saturday, like 1, 2 a.m., but Friday late night. It was like 1, 2 a.m. And just talking to another friend, and they were able to resolve like the biggest part about it. And like, hey, I'll help you out with this for sure. And they're like, yeah, no problem. This is it. This is the place, I want to help you. I'm like, really? And at that moment, I just felt like God's like going, I told you. Now, it wasn't one of those, I told you so. It was more of that, I told you, so have faith. Have faith. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, you're going to go through those emotions. Yeah, it's going to be like, oh no, this happened here and this happened there. Oh my gosh, what's happening here? Like in that moment, it feels like it's hopeless. It feels like everyone abandoned you. It feels like you got to get out of here. You feel embarrassed or ashamed. You second guess yourself. You doubt and say, God, what am I doing kind of thing? Is this even the right thing to do? But in the end, God takes care of it. And though doors were closed, I couldn't believe how much better the open doors were. That's why, for me, it was 3 days, Wednesday to Friday night. And wow. I was that inspired and that moved, like, wow, you took care of it, God. And another thing that I was really thinking about is that, this is kind of how, fickle human beings are. Just in general, like the small changes in the environment, the small changes in our life, it throws our entire world off. Like we like habits. We like to do things in a certain way. And if it's not done that way, it becomes very difficult. And we're like, oh no, the uncertainty of the future. What am I going to do? How am I going to live here? Oh my gosh, how am I going to pay for this? Like all those things come into my heart. And so many people are just like, boom, I'm inspired. Which means that when they're inspired, it's not them, it is God. It is the Holy Spirit. And when I saw how much God was working around me, I was so incredibly moved to the point I was like, holy, like, wow, how could I have ever been anxious or thought that way? But and I'm going to be really truthful to you guys right now. Even right now, I still have that lump in my heart. And it's not because I don't trust and I don't believe, I don't have faith. It's because I'm a human being and I have It's not like if you have an emotion, it's like it's done out of you right now. No, it's just you got to deal with it. You move through it and you go through the next stage in life, right? So I still have some of those like remaining feelings, but I already know it's taken care of. But it just time is the best doctor. It takes time to heal. And it's just like, yeah, I got those feelings, but I already know it's taken care of. And I was like so grateful, so thankful to God. And it was something I looked at and said, yeah, this is how God works. And I would say that we would have to really think carefully about the life that we're living right now and understand that as we go through those tribulations, I went through this 3 days of tribulation, which is quite interesting because it was literally 3.5 days because I learned about this in midday. I learned about it on Wednesday afternoon and stuff, right? So within these 3 days, everything was, I went through the whole valley and went straight to the peak. And now I'm kind of what do you call it? I'm leveling off right now. And I'm going back to my normal, regular emotional thoughts and stuff too. So it was very, very interesting Wednesday to Friday. Saturday, so thankful. I had talks with my friends, other friends and stuff like this too. And just being able to testify what I was going through and how much God really is looking after me. So thankful and grateful. So yeah. Oh, remember last week I talked about like the difference of the Eastern and Western culture. And I was thinking about that. I was rethinking about that more deeply. Because, culture is not something you change. Culture is just culture. You've learned, you've been raised. It leads your social behavior, right? That's what culture is. And I thought to myself, I'm not, if it's just culture that's unchangeable, I can't think about, there's no point of thinking, how can you change someone's culture? You can't. You're born in that culture. And I realized, the thing that I'm really thinking about is not about the culture, but I'm thinking about what's more important is, and the thing that can change is, for instance, like in leadership, it would be your leadership trait not the culture itself. Because culture, you can't really say one is good or bad, one is wrong or right. It's just a matter of, oh, that's the culture. You accept it and you move forward with it. But I realized what was a little bit frustrating for me was not that. It wasn't the culture, but I realized, it's not the culture. I can't blame the culture, or else you can never change it. It's leadership traits. Because even though you have different cultures, leadership traits are the things that are more important, and leadership traits cross borders and boundaries. It's not limited to one culture, right? So culture is like I said, social behavior. It's about the customs and rituals we all have. But leadership traits are the character, right? And character crosses borders and cultures. Because even though we have different cultures, everyone wants a confident leader, steadfast leader, persevering leader, loving, kind, generous, considerate leader. Like these are things like, oh yeah, every person would want those types of traits of a leader within their culture. And I thought to myself I think one of the hardest traits to have as a leader is flexibility. I think that's a really, really hard one, but I think it's so necessary as a leader, because if you're inflexible, it's just about rules. You stick only to rules. It has to be done only by the rules. And if you have a church full of rules, you're going to have a very, very efficient church. Efficient. But the problem is an efficient church doesn't mean it's a good church. Efficient church means that it's running like a machine. People are going to find it like a job more than what it should be. What should a church be? A church is a community that gives and receives God's love. That's like a really great church, thriving community. Because you can have a church without growth, like physically without evangelism. You can't say that a church is a good church because it's growing and more people are coming to Christ through it. Why? Because if that's the case, then what about if you're in a place, like a little town, where you evangelized every single person in that town? Which means you're not going to grow anymore because you have everyone in that town. Does that mean you're no longer a good church because you have no more new people coming in? No, the answer is you'll never have new people coming in because you have everyone. Does that mean it's a bad church? No, it doesn't, because a church is more than just the growth. It's more of that thriving community of giving and receiving God's love, right? Like one of the things that reminds me of verses, 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 6, at the very end, I think it's like the last sentence is, the letter kills, but the spirit brings life. And I think this is a very powerful statement. Pharisees and Sadducees, they were more to the letter of the law, but not to the love of the Spirit, right? It was all about the letter of the law. Do it this way. You have to do, okay, I'm not going to allow you to do this. Why? Because you didn't do it the right way. Oh, you didn't do it the way that I wanted to do? Yeah, fine. Then you can't go there, and you can't do this either, right? So for me, I think the thing that I was probably thinking about, or probably more really trying to figure out last week, was not so much about the culture. I think that's where I thought it was, but I realized it's not so much the culture, it is the traits, the character, the personalities, because you can have bad character, and it doesn't matter which culture you're in, no one likes the person with bad character. It doesn't matter about culture, right? If you have a great character, great leadership, it doesn't matter what culture you're in, everyone likes a great leader, a good leader kind of thing, right? So that's why I think that's probably more to what I was thinking about. Right, so if you have any thoughts on that, please let me know what you think about that too. So those are kind of the things that happened over the weekend. Very, very grateful, thankful to God. A lot of good things and things that where God has closed a door, but oh my goodness, God has opened new doors, and I can't wait to see what the next 6 months to a year is going to be like in the future. Okay, so there it is, guys. That is, that's segment number 1. Hope it's something you guys really, really enjoyed. Before we get into today's Sunday Message Word Study, let's get into the first music break of the day.
We believe in the same God, but we are on different levels.
Put your hands in the sky if you feel alive. All the stories that we made, just you and I. Never losing all the passion, all this love love is my obsession. Oh my gosh, this feeling got me heat stroke. His love like a billion pots about to heat though. I ain't never breaking from this bond, cause you and I are only one. If you ain't living with the Lord, then who you with? Who you with? If you ain't living with the Lord, then who you with? Who you with? You are get together with the Lord every day, all day. You are get together with the Lord all day, all day. You are get together with the Lord every day, all day. You are get together with the Lord all day, all day. Together with the Lord, I'm living my best life. Don't worry about a thing, you know it's only some in life. We sing about memory stories that we share. We'll fall deeper in love as we stop and just stare. My eyes only on you. They sparkle with love, don't forget my charm too. There will never be another, live this life only for you. I give you this promise that I will hold true. If you ain't living with the Lord, then who you with? Who you with? If you ain't living with the Lord, then who you with? Who you with? You are get together with the Lord every day, all day. You are get together with the Lord all day, all day. You are get together with the Lord every day, all day. You are get together with the Lord all day, all day.
We believe in the same God, but we are on different levels.
All right, so let's get into today's word study. Lots of things to talk about, especially this week's Sunday message. Prophecy and promise have been fulfilled according to what the time period has done when the time came. All right, so let's get into this word study. So I listened to the translation because I had a meeting after church today. So I went to the big church and stuff, and great message. Love the message, even though it was done through translation. You know, of course, it's such a powerful message. It transcends the translation itself. But I like the very, very first point. When you don't know, you misunderstand. And I think all of us have had that experience. Misunderstanding because we don't know, right? When you don't know, you misunderstand. Promises about the future, which are prophecies also, when people don't know how they're fulfilled, they misunderstand God. They misunderstand the Bible. They misunderstand the history, and they won't believe it at all because it doesn't work out to the way they expect. And this is why learning is big and learning is life. So I was just like, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Like this is something like, yeah, this is where a lot of people, even today in the former faith, are misunderstanding our history. That's why people misunderstand the son's name, right? That's why people are like going, hey, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense according to their understanding. And I think that this is something that we have to also understand, where even me last week for those 3 days misunderstanding God. God, why'd you do this to me? God, I'm so angry. God, you want me to leave? God, you don't want me to do internet ministry. Oh God, I hate Malaysia. Like all these things are coming to my head, but my realization is like, wait. At the end, when everything is fulfilled, I'm like, oh gosh, that's embarrassing, you know? And it's only when I learn, only when I go through it, I'm like, that's it. And it helps us to push through it and say, all right, I got it. This is how it's actually going to work. So I hope that we'll realize through this message once again about the promises and prophecies of the Old Testament and New Testament and how they're fulfilled in the new time period. And I guess the biggest point that was said at the very, very beginning is you cannot realize just by looking at it face value. And I like that example Sunsim gave about the mountain. Just because it says a mountain, but what if in the future that mountain is kind of shaved down and turned into a city? Then it's like, wait a second, is it the city? I thought it said it was a mountain. But what if the mountain used to be there, but then they change it and put a city there, right? So it's kind of like, we have to understand that when God gives a prophecy, he puts it in a way that the people back then can understand, but we're not going to realize it until the reality comes when it's actually fulfilled, right? And the way Sunsim said it was, the prophecy was made in the style of the past, but you'll realize it's different in reality. Why? Because we're not living those thousands of years ago. It's going to be fulfilled later, but not in the way that we think. And that's why sometimes we're not going to be just staring and like, oh, what does this mean? But no, wait for it to be fulfilled. And then it's like, that's what it means. And I think that's the best and greatest example is Jesus. People realize Jesus is the Messiah. They know, right? So people today who are Christian realize Jesus is the Messiah, which means that now you know he's the Messiah. You should go back and look at those prophecies of fire and the clouds and the sword and the sun, moon, and stars. And you'll realize that, okay, so since he's the Messiah, we know what reality is. That is the reality. So all we need to do next is what? All we need to do next is, okay, so since that's the reality, let's figure out how these things were actually fulfilled. How was it actually fulfilled? Fire and the sword. It didn't happen at Jesus' time. But Jesus said it in a different way. Was it Luke 12:49? I have come to bring fire. Like, oh, we never saw it because it's different. And we have to understand is when we see the actual, like the one result we are 100% of is Jesus is the Messiah. So if Jesus is the Messiah, and we know that there's prophecies about Jesus coming out, we cannot discount and just say, oh, the fire is going to come at the second coming. No, if he's the Messiah, it's got to come. It's got to come through. We got to interpret it properly, how it was fulfilled, right? The great example we've been hearing for the last months is about Elijah and John the Baptist. How was it actually fulfilled? Elijah didn't literally come back in his body. We saw a spirit once in the Mount of Transfiguration in Matthew chapter 17, but we never saw it physically because he was working through John the Baptist. And when you look at Matthew 17:13, it was pretty clear. Jesus is like, yeah, he is the Elijah who was to come. Prophecies are fulfilled differently in each time period because remember, the prophecies are said in the style of the past, but in the future, when it's actually fulfilled, it's done in a different way, right? Look at the cause and see like, oh, it says Elijah's coming back, and then you look at the actual result and you'll say, that's how it was fulfilled. It's not about how it was said, because what we know about the Bible is the way God talks about the Bible, it is said in parables, right? So I hope it's something that we will realize. Like, think about the rapture. The rapture, people think we're going to fly into the sky. Just like Elijah did, just like Jesus did. Was it in the body or the spirit? Look at the result and judge using the result as evidence. That's the way that we really, really have to see it. And when we teach it, if we teach it properly, the people who listen are going to be like, oh, that makes more sense, right? Oh, that makes more sense, right? That's the way it should be. And that's why we have to teach people. The first video was about the legends in Woimindong and stuff like that too. But I like what Sunseep said after. He said, one of the legends I thought in video 2 was the best one. When it talks about the great person born in Mount Inde wearing a large belt. And of course, a large belt back in those days, the old style, in Korea, the large belt is, what does it mean again? Oh, kings wore these large belts, right? However, when we look to the Bible, what is the large belt? Well, there's the belt buckle of truth, the belt of truth in the armor of God in Ephesians chapter 6, verses 13 through 17. Says the belt is the truth, right? Which means that the person coming from Mount Inde, that great person is a person wearing the belt of truth. So the part I really liked is God gives legends for the Gentiles. So the Gentiles can also come and believe too. And that makes a lot more sense. Same thing happened at the time of Jesus. Remember, you had the people who were stargazers, the 3 magi that came from Babylon. It was not a biblical prophecy. It was something for the Gentiles. And when we realize this, like, I got that. So this makes a lot more sense too. Right? So when I look at, like, he went over the Nostradamus prophecies, and, when you guys watch the videos, you might have saw me there in the video when he showed the big soccer tournament happening in Paris, France. I was there, right? Because Nostradamus said the world ends in 1999. The great king of terror will come from Mongolia. Koreans are, Mongolian descent. Sun turned dark, achieve history of peace and ruling with peace, right? So think about how crazy that is where the French, 70% of France left the city because they thought it was Judgment Day. Nostradamus he said July of 1999. So it's pretty incredible. Like, if you don't understand, you're going to misunderstand. You're not going to be able to receive God the right way. And what's even sadder is when you get to video 4, now you realize even more deeply that when God says you have to understand properly, do not misunderstand God, what eventually happens is those that believe will follow, right? They will become brides of this history. But those that don't understand what happens to them, they oppose the one that God has sent, like what's happening right now. They will not follow the one that they've been waiting for. They'll only look into the sky. They'll betray. They'll kill the people who follow. They'll do all types of evil deeds. So this is something that we have to see how serious this really becomes. The key point of the message, God and the Holy Spirit said, however the prophecy was made, the conclusion is drawn according to the reality that happened when the time came, right? That's the key point. You see the cause, the prophecy, the promise says this, but what is the actual reality that makes it that much, that we'll be like, oh, that's what it means, right? So the only time where we really get to mess up as being in this history, the way Sunsi put it is, it's when you have your own thinking, when you have arrogance. This is when you stop realizing. This is when you go to a different world because you're not listening to what God is saying. You're not going to listen to the one that God has sent. And it's something we have to have, that absolute faith, absolute belief, absolute love. And no matter what the tribulations, no matter suffering we go through, right? We got to go, we have to be the ones that understand God. We cannot misunderstand God. All right? So I hope that we'll see that reality is always the answer. And I hope that one thing that really hit me was only those who follow will know, and they become the owners. If we become owners of this history, knowing this truth, we cannot be owners by keeping it to ourselves. We own history by spreading it and making the gospel go to the ends of the earth. Okay? So, yeah, that great message. Great message. I hope you guys really enjoyed that. I'm not sure how short it was for you guys, but it was quite short for us over here in Malaysia. I think it was like 35, 40 minutes around there. Was it the same for you guys? Was it an hour? Maybe? I don't know. For me, it felt short. Okay? So there it is, guys. That is the Sunday Message Word Study. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Any questions or comments, leave it in the comments below. All right? Before we get into 2G Talks with Eddie Kweon, let's get into the final music break of the day.
Yeah, Providence to represent Sierra Leone, West Africa. The rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come, and I will live in happily with our family, cause we realize wonderfully. The rapture's time has come, and I will live in happily with our family, cause we realize wonderfully. The rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, cause the bridegroom has come. This is the time of the rapture, our spirit is to rapture, we reckon history together in this mission. We receive the new words, we receive the good words through the man of mission that receive the vision, that receive the wisdom and get all the passion. And get all the passion in this mission, cause our God is the God of life, not a God of death. The providence is to make sure we represent, to become a bride who listens to the word of right. Come on now, there is the word of life, there is the word of life. The rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, cause the bridegroom has come.
The rapture's time has come. If you're still waiting, ladies, it's better hear this one. Christ has come to the man on mission. Some sound hit this one and take action. You living out spot, you better wake up and take this mission and stop. Let's move, come on, let's set this fall. Because this vision we must fulfill, say.
The rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, the rapture's time has come, cause the bridegroom now we are enjoy. So never for life to be destroyed. So now I can say, so now I can say, so now I can say, we live in joy, we live in joy. So now I can say, we live in joy. So now we are raptured. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. 'Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. 'Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. 'Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come, and I will live in happily with our family, 'cause we realize wonderfully. The rapture's time has come, and I will live in happily with our family, 'cause we realize wonderfully. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. 'Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. 'Cause the bridegroom has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. The rapture's time has come. 'Cause the bridegroom has come.
Okay, so let's get into our final segment on this wonderful Monday podcast. Hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast so far. Of course, we're going to be getting into 2G Talks with Eddie Kweon. He was over there in Florida, and he was checking out his new university for law school. I'm really, really happy and excited for him, too. He's going to be alone over there, but he's going to be in a great place. So, yeah, guys, leave your congrats for him. But let's welcome all the way over there in America. This is Eddie Kweon with 2G Talks.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another week's episode of 2G Talks. I hope everyone's doing really well. I got back yesterday from visiting Florida, and I'm really thankful for everyone's well wishes in the comments. And I hope that it's really a time that each of us will make ourselves in the same way. I think, it's interesting because actually last week's message, when I was listening to it, it talked about two different things, right? And so these two things, actually at the time, for me, it was quite confusing, but, and so it took like this last week of trying to really process it and of trying to fulfill the word and not go against what the Trinity wants, right? Like one of the things that the message really talked about were like the people who were going back to just plowing the field that that they were plowing before they came to Providence. And of course, it was mostly referencing people who left, and then like the people who left, like all they were doing were like Adam and Eve after they committed the fall, and they just went back to plowing that same field that they were, and they were producing fruit that was nowhere near like what they had in the Garden of Eden, and with their toil they produced like dust and nothing, right? And so like thinking about that and those kind of thoughts always kind of made me wonder like should I be going to law school? And that's kind of a thought that I've had for a long time. But at the same time, there was also the poem at the end where something was really saying like use this time valuably and make yourself, and like do so quietly, right? And just kind of like do the thing that you need to do without losing sight of that. And so I was thinking about both things, and so this kind of like a problem and a question that I've been grappling with for a long time. And it even talked about how like when you have dreams, like if you're not sure whether they've been fulfilled, and like what the dream is referencing, even if it happened or if it's happening, then you won't be sure, and you'll be filled with that lack of certainty. But the thing that came at the end of all of those kind of things was to entrust everything to God, and to make sure that we don't do things according to our plan, but to consult God along the whole time. And so like so even until the end, like even after getting accepted there, like some parts I wondering like is this a path? And I'm sure that's a thought process that other people could have as well. And yet still, I hope that these next 3 years in school and the things that I may do can really be done to do that act of pruning myself and developing certain skills so that they be not just directly useful to Providence, maybe one day it will be, but just even if it's an ancillary benefit or a cursory thing, right, that like I can help Providence in some way. And so last night too, when I got back and this morning, I similarly had another dream, and it looked like I was like trying to improve how I looked in a mirror. And it didn't look that I was like perfect or anything, but that I was like fixing some of the things that I could see in a mirror. And so hopefully that's going along the positive direction. And so I really hope that that this next period will be a time where I can use this time also to develop myself even further spiritually and to learn a lot too, right? Like one of the things that we do know is that, like when we fulfill the scriptures that tell us to be fruitful and increase in number and rule over creation, is that we have to make ourselves and evangelize, and then like go out and like the people that have been evangelized and have been made, and we ourselves will be like active members of the world after having been made in God's image, and after having made ourselves in God's image, and also after making Providence into a world that is designed after God's world of Providence, right? And so I think that's such a hopeful idea. And when you look at the purpose of creation lesson and other things, like that's what comes to mind, right? And so like recently I had the chance to teach that to some JS's sons, and I think that part like really struck me too, because that's like sometimes I think like when we get stuck in our problems, and when we don't think about it, we kind of forget that was the purpose, that's the core. And so actually yesterday too, when I was coming back from Florida on the flight, normally like as soon as I get on a flight, like I just knock straight out, right? So I'm asleep for most of the flight, and because I got so used to traveling that like that's just so easy for me. And yesterday I was like really tired. I was like more tired than I usually am, because I had to drive. I had to wake up in the morning, like shower and then like leave and drive like 2 hours to the airport. And so like even when I woke up I was exhausted, and then I drove, and then I got on the flight. So I could have knocked straight out, but I wanted to do some reading, and then I was also in part of my Bible read through that I started with my cousin that I think I spoke a while about on 2D Talks. And so she completed her reading because she read the New Testament, and then she read like the Old Testament afterwards. But for me, I was like working from the Old Testament, so I finished the Old Testament with her, and so she completed hers. And so I was like reading through the New Testament, and I wanted to finish it while I was in Korea, but I wasn't able to. So yesterday I only had a few books left, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna finish the Bible. So I was reading through the last couple books, and I was finishing Revelations. And in Revelations it's really interesting because towards the end in Revelations 18 like onwards, right, it talks about those who were saved and those who were not, like those who had the seal of God like on their forehead versus who had the seal of Satan and who didn't have the seal of God at all, right? And then like it talks about how like all of those who were with Satan, and all of those who did not have the seal of God on their forehead, they were all cast into Hades, into the lake of fire at the end. And so were the devil and also Hades himself, right? That they were thrown into the lake of fire as well, even though they were the ones who also took the sinners and the prisoners. They too faced that. And so it completely separated those who committed wicked things and those who were sheep, right? And those who were clean. And it also talked about that, right? How it described heaven, it described the entrance of heaven, it described what it was like, and how those who received that, where they will go. And I think it was just such a hopeful message. It was just like really great to think about that once again, but it's because it reminds us of where we're going. It reminds us of who we are, and of like what it is that we're gaining, right? And that's not just gained like once or twice within our lifetime. Of course, that there's 2023, but that's gained for the entirety of our lifetime. And no, I think we all know that, like both explicitly and implicitly. But I think it's nice to talk about too, because sometimes we forget, right? Like we know it, but we forget it too. But the reason that we're still here, and the reason why, most of us are still here, is because we didn't forget. Like even amid turmoil and amid things that could make us forget them, we remembered, and we're still here. And so I hope that all of us can remember, and I really hope that I will remember going forward in law school. And one of the hopeful things that they did say is that yes, as long as you keep up with the work that you have to do, you'll still have time to do other things as well. Because one of the concerns that I had is like, of course, like school is kind of like a time where you want to focus just on your education, on top of faith as well. But you wonder if you can handle the waves of the world and the things happening in your life, like while you're studying, right? Like I think when I was a university student, in undergrad, like it seemed like life was on pause. But the moment I graduated, it seemed like that the seawall that held back the tide for a bit, that it all came crashing in, and like so many things of life happened, right? And so for graduate school, like I think it's kind of at a time where those walls have come down. Maybe I'll be able to put them up a little bit again, but now they're down. So you have to handle the things of life while also dealing with the things of school and education, preparing yourself. And in one way, I think I was kind of glad because, quite a few of the kids who were there, they were like recent college graduates or like about to graduate. And I think for them, they haven't yet experienced that world outside of school yet. And so they seem really bright and really smart. And like in Florida, like University of Florida is like the best school like in that state, and it's also one of the best schools like within the country. And so there's very smart kids, but you could tell that they have yet to experience life, right? And so they kind of wear their intentions like on their sleeves, and so it's kind of easy to like really see. They're not really hiding like what it is that they're thinking, what it is that they're doing, or it's like very, very poorly concealed. And it's not about like like concealing or not concealing, but I could tell that they have yet to have that experience. And so I hope that I'll still be able to do the work of faith, like of course like maintaining my own level of faith, but also doing what is required of me, like because I always want to help out where I can, and so like whether it's with the SS or the second gen, or like with ministry, like we got to visit the churches in Georgia, the members in Georgia, and that's like the closest church to that area. And I was really impressed. I was really moved by Georgia as well, and I was like so thankful for the members there, and not just me, but my folks and my aunt had a really good time seeing them as well. And so I really wish the best for like all of the churches like all across the world, and I hope that we continue to grow steadily. And like the last thing that I'll mention was like at the one of the last things that I went through was that Holy Spirit letter at the end of last week that really talked about like be discerning when we evangelize, right? When we save people, check people once, twice, 3 times before you give them not before you give them the word, but before you like actively try to evangelize them. Because one of the things that we learned in Korea was that like they said, like if you evangelize someone, like make sure that you can take care of them. Like, even if it's not you personally, that a group effort, or that you working together with someone can manage this person so that they do not become someone who becomes a hindrance to something, right? Because everyone may act zealously for a period, but that zealousness can lead to issues if there are people who are unstable in a certain aspect of their life. And so I hope that we too will continue to prune ourselves. But I think thinking about that, it really made me think of the value of like even one person who has made themselves sure and who has made themselves right. And so the value of each person, listening to this podcast and making themselves in this way and having made themselves so that they don't become a hindrance to other people and who don't, cause their brothers and sisters to stumble in any way, like your value is extremely tremendous. And so I hope that each of us will continue to make ourselves in this way and that we'll make Providence a more and more beautiful place over time. And so with this, I'll wrap up today's this episode of 2G Talks. I thank you guys all, and we'll see you guys next week.
And thank you so much, Eddie, for a wonderful episode of 2G Talks. Hope you guys really enjoyed it, had some realizations too. Very amazing, all the work that he's doing. I can't wait for him. He's going to be going to law school. That's going to be awesome. I'm excited for him, and I hope that he can be someone that can be a great external witness for this history too. Okay, so there it is, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's Monday podcast. Have an amazing and awesome day, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
The Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone,